The TMNT Remastered line has begun hitting stores. Actually, I'm very late to the party because I think it started coming out back in July, but I picked them up and I wanted to add my 2 cents to everybody else's thoughts on these figures, so that's what we're doing here today. Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan. Thank you for joining me for another video here on my channel. If you are new and you enjoy what you see today, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave me a comment. All of that stuff helps the channel grow, and every Saturday you'll be treated to a brand new toy video like this one. So the TMNT Remastered line had a lot of buzz when it was first revealed. When we first saw it pop up online, the images were not the highest of quality, but the idea of vintage-looking Ninja Turtles with more articulation was really enticing. This is something that fans have actually wanted to see for quite some time, and very easily was related to what Mattel is doing with Masters of the Universe Origins. Seeing that Origins treatment be applied to all these other properties we love feels like a no-brainer. So TMNT Remastered is something that on paper sounds excellent. But when more HD images started coming out, we started noticing some interesting things about these figures that made them maybe not look as great as we were hoping. But now they're here, I have them in hand. What do I think of them? Well, let's dive on in and check them out. Alright, so here they are, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1988 Remastered figures, or the 40th Anniversary Turtles, or Turtles Origins. I don't know, what do you guys want to call these? I think Remastered, clearly the official name here. So, all 4 Turtles, as you can see, they come in window boxes, and honestly, I like these boxes. I think these are really cool. They do a great job of paying homage to the vintage packaging with these kind of colorful bricks that you can see here. Classic logo. We got some other call-outs here like all new articulation and deco, and you can see these kind of tears in the package that sort of pay homage to the vintage cardback artwork there. On the side of the box, you can see that it comes with classic 1988 styling, now with 13 points of articulation, bonus weapons, and a customizable display base, which is actually pretty cool. I'm pretty excited to see what this display base thing is all about there. It's 1988 again, only better. Collect all your favorite classic style TMNT figures, now remastered. 88 only better, huh? I guess I'll be the judge of that. So there you go. We got Mikey, we got Raph, we got Leo, and of course, we've got Donnie. Let's go ahead and open these guys out of these window boxes, and we will get a closer look at the figures within. All right. Here's our remastered Turtles outside of the packaging. Let's go ahead and do some of our basic tests here. We will start with the scale of these figures. As you can see, it looks like we are like right at 4.5 inches. So technically like the 5-inch scale, the Turtles were always shorter. Just to do a quick comparison time right here at the beginning, they are very similar in scale to the vintage figures, much like with Masters of the Universe Origins. Because we can straighten the legs out all the way now, it actually makes them stand a little bit taller, but technically same scale. So these actually have a very similar feel in your hands, and honestly these feel nice. Like the plastic quality is good, the figure's got a good weight to it, it feels solid. So all in all, I think the feeling of the figures is pretty good. Now, let's talk about the overall design. As you can see, they definitely followed that format of like modern action figures that are taking homage from the vintage toy, but kind of adding modern articulation to it. Because, again, bringing that vintage Raphael in here, you can see clearly that's the inspiration for this, right? The belt is similar, the overall design of the figure is similar, the face is similar, the shell is similar, though we do have some more details in a lot of those places. Like, for example, you can see the shell is a lot more detailed. We got those little swirls on there now. One of the details that has sort of been the one that everybody's talking about. It's been a bit polarizing. It's been the detail that I didn't really like from all of the photos, and I was waiting to see how I felt when I got them in hand, is the textures on the skin. So they've got this very interesting texture going on now, where you can see they're not like really bumpy. They've basically got these little pinholes all over the place. It's super noticeable up on the head. So it doesn't even really look scaly. It almost, to me, looks like somebody took like a little thumbtack or something and went poke, 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 poke all over the figure. Like, that is what I see. And to me, a turtle definitely feels like it should have more of a smooth skin texture instead of like, I don't know, a bumpy one like this. Like, it almost feels more frog-like on these figures. So even in hand, I gotta say, like, I don't know, I guess it's not quite as bad as I thought it looked originally in the photos, but I am still not a fan. And I think it stands out worse on the darker skinned ones here, like Michelangelo and Donatello. I really think all those little, like, pinpricks all over the figure, especially their faces, I don't know, it's a bit off-putting. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. I really think these would have looked a lot better with smooth skin with no details there. So of course, each turtle comes with their signature weapon, and you'll also notice they added colors to the weapons as well. Instead of just having them be unpainted brown plastic like the vintage, the bladed weapons actually are silver. They're molded in silver, but you can see they also colored the handles to match the turtles. What's really interesting about that is, like, it's not even like a color that really matches perfectly. Like, for example, the red on Raphael's size doesn't appear to be the same red on his bandana. It's most noticeable with Donatello, where the purple used for the wraps on the bow is a light purple compared to the very dark purple that they used on the figure. I don't know. I guess the colors on the weapons are fine. This is something that Playmates also did with their classic collection turtles, like 10 or so years ago. So it's kind of one of those things that they seem to do with their collector figures just to add paint to them. And I know what they're going for here, and it's not a terrible thing. Honestly, I would have liked to see just like a white wrap here, I think, instead of the purple one. But maybe I'm just being way too nitpicky here, and that's totally fine. So they do also all have the same kind of belt design as the vintage figures, which means they've all got a place to store their weapons, which is very nice. And now we get to run down the articulation on these figures, because the whole point here is that they're supposed to be like vintage toys with modern articulation. It's supposed to be like the vintage line, but better, according to the box. So here's what we got. That head is on a ball-like joint, so it allows the head to move left, right, kind of look up and down, roll around. It's a decent range of movement. It's very nice. We got those hinge-like joints at the shoulder, so they can go outwards, forwards, backwards. You got a single swivel at the elbow and an elbow bend there. It is worth noting that it still looks a little bent, but not too bad. You can actually straighten the arms out pretty good on here. And then you've got a swivel at the wrist. There's no hinge joints at the wrist. Nothing in the turtle shell torso there. And then again, you got those hinge-like joints at the thighs. The legs can go outwards if you twist the leg. They can move forwards and backwards there as well. They can swivel there at the thigh cut. Single joint at the knee with a swivel just like the elbows. And then we've got the ankles, which just swivel. This is actually the worst piece of articulation on this, because I just am not a big fan of these swivel cut ankles when there's no hinge. Like, at the very least, I wish we would have had a hinge joint there, because see, look, we can't move the feet at all. They can't move up and down. But a hinge would have been nice to move the foot up and down, but also an ankle rocker obviously would have been a lot better. The only reason I don't really like the swivel here is because it feels like a pointless point of articulation, because first of all, it breaks up the sculpt really bad, but also, like, you can't really get any good wide-legged poses because the foot can't go flat on the ground. It's always going to be stuck out to the side unless you do like a really, really weird looking pose with the legs. So that is definitely the most disappointing piece of articulation on here. It does fall in line with how they articulate a lot of figures over at Playmates Toys these days. Like, if you picked up any of the Mutant Mayhem Ninja Turtles, it's basically this articulation scheme. So they just kind of copied that over to this. I wish they would have taken this just a little bit further, since they were going for something that's a collector figure here. I think a lot of collectors would have been much happier with, at the very least, a hinge joint there at the ankle, so it can move up and down. But a rocker would have been really great as well. You know, other than that, like the joints all feel good. It's solid. It's exactly what you would expect from a Playmates Toys figure. So if you're totally fine with that and you're into that, I mean, they balance good. They do hold their poses. You're just not going to get like extra dynamic poses out of these, but certainly more posable than the vintage figures, which were pretty much all stuck in pre-poses. So there you go. There's your articulation. I do want to give the credit where it's due. I mean, the figures do still feel really great. Like I said, the hands do a great job of holding onto the weapons. None of the weapons are loose. So nice and solid feeling there. We don't have any worries with that. So these are really sturdy, really solid figures. It's just some of those design choices that I just don't completely agree with. And there's a few more wonky things going on here too that I want to point out. First of all, with Raphael, I don't know if that's coming across there, but his face is crooked. It looks like the bandana in the top piece of the head, or I don't know, that might be a separate piece, and it almost looks like it was glued on crooked, because you can see like the front of his nose, the tip of his nose is here, but then his eyes are kind of over here at a slant. It's not super noticeable, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And as far as I can tell, it's like this on every Raphael. I looked at several of them in the store. I noticed it. I saw some folks talking about it online. So I definitely think that he's just got a bit of a weird mishap in his production. The other odd thing here that I feel like is worth pointing out is something that I noticed when they initially put these up online for the reveal. Donatello and Leonardo have the wrong heads. They've got each other's heads. And that is solely based on the way the figures looked in the vintage line. So, for example, if I bring over, this is a reissue Donatello over here, by the way, but, you know, it's based on the vintage figure. You can see that he should have the two parts of the mouth gritting teeth, and they definitely gave that head sculpt to Leonardo in this new line, whereas on the vintage figure, Leonardo just had that kind of one-sided, one corner of the mouth, and instead they gave that to Donatello this time. I am not fully convinced that this was done on purpose. This feels like it might have been a mistake, unless for some reason they decided that these portraits fit better with the personalities of these turtles, but they haven't ever done that before. Like, they've reissued the vintage figures over and over and over again, and they've never swapped those heads. So what happened here? Talking about the accessories, I do also want to point out, like, Michelangelo's got real metal chains on his nunchucks. I do think that is very, very cool. He's got the holster in the back to store those. And each of the turtles do come with a slew of other accessories. Some of these accessories are a straight nod to the vintage toy line. So each of them comes with two of these tiny little ninja stars that we will definitely lose. And then we get these two bladed weapons. And I'm pretty sure these are even the same molds as the vintage ones. They've just added some paint to them like the other weapons. And also, just like on the vintage figure, Raphael is the only one who's got a proper place to store this weapon, which I think is a really nice touch. I'm glad that they kept that there on Raphael, because that's definitely where that's going to stay. I think that is really cool. So each of the turtles also gets like a brand new weapon included with these. It's the bonus weapons there. So Michelangelo's got this really cool, like, double sickle kind of weapon here with like a rope in between it. This is like kind of pliable. It is shaped in that kind of S curve, but it's a bit pliable there. That's a pretty fun new little weapon for him. Raphael's got this like double hammer thing, which seems super brutal. And you know what? Seems totally Raphael. So I'm into it. Donatello has sort of like this modified bow staff weapon that's got like a spiked ball and chain on either end of it. So that's pretty cool. And definitely something like we've seen Donatello have bow staffs with weapons on either end of it before. So that actually works pretty good for him. And then Leonardo comes with whatever the heck this thing is. I mean, is this an actual weapon? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. It looks bananas. And I don't think I've got him holding it right there. I've almost got him holding it like it's a rifle or something. Like some kind of crazy pew, 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 pew. I don't know. It's really weird. I mean, it's cool that they came with these. I can't complain about extra weapons. I just don't know how many of us would be displaying our turtles with these. I don't know. You gonna display your turtles like this? So the last thing we've got to talk about are these rooftop bases that they came with, and they called them customizable rooftop bases. And what they mean by that is each of them comes with their own little doodads to attach to it. Like you got this little antenna back here, and you can see all of the bases are exactly the same. They've got these 4 little holes in the back, so you can really just kind of mix and match some of these different antenna pieces if you want to, put them in the different slots. What I think is really strange are these like little rooftop display parts, because they don't actually clip onto anything. I thought maybe this one clipped onto this round thing back here, but it doesn't really fit on it. It just falls right off. So I think you're just kind of meant to set those wherever. Like, for example, like this one over here that came with Donatello, it does have like the little spinny doohickey that plugs onto this little peg on the end just fine. But then it's got what I guess is like a little air conditioner unit or whatever, and it's hollowed out, and it doesn't plug onto anything. It just kind of sits here somewhere on the roof. Now the roof pieces can all plug together, which is kind of cool, but they don't really like lock in. It doesn't seem like. They just kind of, you can see they just sit next to each other there. They just like got these little lip pieces right here, and they kind of connect together, but they don't like lock in place. So you can line these all up if you want to, just like this. Or I suppose if we wanted to come around and make like a square, like we can do a rooftop display like this. So you could do that as well, or if you wanted to put those off to the side, like there's a couple different ways you can line those up, and then you can just kind of like place these pieces wherever you want to. I don't know, it's fine for what it is. There's no foot pegs either for standing up the figures, and I don't know, I guess that's fine. That's not a terrible thing. These figures all stand just fine, so it's a okay diorama base. It's just not anything super special, I don't think. But if you just want a little something under the figures on your figure shelf, I mean, it definitely works for that. All right, so I guess we should do comparison time, and I've already brought in the vintage ones a few times to show a few different things or prove some different points, but looking at them all standing side by side is definitely something that I wanted to do here. But one of the other things that I wanted to do as far as comparisons go that I know I saw a lot of folks asking online, a lot of people were saying like, what's the difference between these and like what Super 7 was doing? So we are going to go ahead and stand them alongside the Super 7 Ultimates as well. Now, as far as I'm concerned, these are completely different beasts. The Super 7 figures are 7-inch scale. They're far more articulated. We're also talking about a $50 figure in the Super 7 figure compared to a $13 figure with these new remastered ones you can find at Walmart. The price difference is ridiculous. And honestly, for a $13 figure, these remastered figures are a real bargain. Because even though I've got a lot of nitpicks about it, these are super solid figures. They're really well made, and for $13, it is hard to complain. I mean, gosh, so many collector figures these days are $30, $40, and $50 a piece, and these are 13 bucks. It's kind of crazy that they're that cheap. I still feel like these aren't quite there. I mean, I feel like there's just so much more they could have done to really like put these over the top. So many people were comparing this line to Masters of the Universe Origins when it was revealed, and rightfully so. The concepts are the same. We're taking a vintage action figure, maintaining that style sculpt, and adding modern articulation to it. But Motu Origins does do it better as far as articulation goes. Plus they added that whole removable parts thing for pop and play features, which just kind of adds to the overall playability and customization of them. They feel a little bit more collector friendly. Now, even those are a bit more expensive. Like when they first hit retail, they were under $15 a piece, but now they're $20 to $25 easy. So these are even more expensive than TMNT Remastered. But you can see like TMNT Remastered is a super fine line. I just wish it, man, it's so close. It's so close to being what I wanted it to be and not quite there. So there you go, my friends. There's my look at the TMNT Remastered figures from Playmates Toys. I'm honestly not sure how deep this particular line is going to go. Originally, when I talked about these, I predicted that these were going to be one and done, meaning just this wave, just the 4 turtles, and then we probably wouldn't see any more. But I've already been proven wrong, because I believe at San Diego Comic-Con it was revealed that we're at least getting another wave of these, and they showed early renders of Shredder and Rocksteady. So more of these do seem to be on the way. And you know what? I'll pick them up. I'll check them out. I'm curious to see where this goes, and maybe this will be one of those lines that just gets better as it progresses, which does tend to happen a lot with a lot of these style toy lines. These are decent figures. I mean, honestly, they're good figures for that $13 price point. Engineering-wise, quality-wise, they're very, very well done. There's just some design elements that are not my favorite on these. It's like they're so close to being what I want them to be, and they're not quite there. It's like, oh, it's so close. But what are your thoughts? Now you can let me know. Was I too hard on these? Was I not hard enough on these? Somehow I'm predicting I'm gonna hear both of those things. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do you enjoy these? Did you pick these up? These should be in stores right now. I found mine at my local Walmart store. I'm not sure how long they're going to hang around before they dry up, or if they're going to be shipping more of these, but definitely get out there and see if you can track them down if you're interested. It's hard to beat that $13 price point. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and until next time.